Right. Hello, everyone. Uh, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can, Jihoon.
Thank you, Justin. 4 minutes in, I think we can start. So, hello, everyone. Welcome to FOCIL Breakout 30. Today, we can share development and testing updates. Perhaps I can go first with testing updates. So we started EL and CL fossil testing. Nothing much to share that except that we started taking a look into testing. Um, so we are in contact with Steel team to discuss how we can go about EL testing and other CL testing. Um, I think we will mostly work on reference tests. Um, yeah, that's actually pretty much it. If anyone is interested in helping us on testing, please let me know. And yeah, so does anyone have anything to share on development updates? Maybe Justin, I have a question for you. So last time I heard that Bezu might start implementing Fossil on top of Amsterdam. Um, do you know if that work has started?
Yes, it has. I have a draft PR that I'm currently working on right now. It's very early phases. It's very rough, but yeah, it started. I don't have too much to report. Haven't really started testing or anything like that. It's literally just at the spec implementation phase.
Got it. Maybe you share the link to the PR.
Sure. It's in my own fork, but yes.
Um, is current spec okay for EL implementation? I think like it's a little bit outdated, especially when it comes to versions like new payload V6 thing.
Sorry. Good question. I'm basing it off of what's actually been published, not necessarily any PRs that are outstanding. So it could be a little out of date, this implementation.
Gotcha. Now, let me update those PRs by this week. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I mean, right now this is just me and
Yeah.
an agent kind of grinding on it.
Um, can I expect that this PR will be promoted to actual implementation?
Yes.
Got it. Cool. Nice. Any other development updates?
I can give a quick update for Teku. Basically, we started merging all the Heze fork boilerplate code, and we're planning to add Fossil on top of Heze. So yeah, hopefully that won't be an issue when we start interoping, because I see some people are still adding Fossil on top of Glamsterdam. So yeah, but for now I won't touch the Docker I published, which is based on top of Fulu. But at some point, everything will be based on top of Hazy. Oh yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Do we have any more updates? All right. At least we have one CL and one EL working on FOCIL on top of Amsterdam. So yeah, looking forward to seeing more clients working on FOCIL. Um, all right. Do we have any other updates other than development and testing updates?
Oh, just
Yeah.
as a note, we are planning on doing the updates, but we're just finishing up our Glamsterdam now. So once we get DevNet 0 squared away, it's stable and there's no issues. We are intending to rebase everything on top.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, I can finally. Where's the echo?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sorry, there we go. Yeah, I can finally share some of the work I've been doing on the mock inclusion list real quick. Just need to have like 5 slides and just gonna run through. Mm, Everyone see that?
Yep, you're good.
Perfect. All right. So getting into it, I the main point of this research was to answer three main questions. We want to figure out what building inclusion lists is going to look like in terms of redundancy. So how many of these transactions that are getting added to the inclusion list would have been included into the block without the inclusion list. We also wanted to see how much delay of 0 to 2 slots affects this redundancy. It's definitely going to go up, but by how much? And also see what those redundancy numbers look like for different strategies. In this case, just top fee and censorship only ILs. So top fee is how most of the clients, I believe, are building inclusion lists, where we just take the best transactions from our mempool and then send it up to the chain. So the way this was all implemented was using block native mempool data from PandaOps's ClickHouse server. I did try to use the X2 data, but it's super noisy and there's a bunch of spam transactions in there. So about 70% of transactions in that data never even make it on chain. And it was very hard to parse for legitimate transactions, but the block native data is a lot. It's been cleaned and it also has some other metadata that allows us to do this analysis a lot quicker, as the X2 data. It takes about 30 days on my hardware, so I need to use my laptop every day. So I decided to just go with this block native data, which took about 3 days to run. But basically, we're going to grab that data, filter out the transactions, so no blob transactions, make sure we're reaching the base fee and anything that makes it fossil valid. And then we'll build a censorship inclusion list, which we'll get to in a second, and that top fee. And then we apply that to the N+1, N+2, and N+3 slots and see how many transactions got included on chain. And you'll see the data in just 1 second. Here's a better picture of what it looks like for the censorship window. We're just looking at the last 12 seconds. The reason for this is censorship is pretty low, so none of these censorship inclusion lists are ever getting to capacity. And also it solves the problem of we're trying to build these mock inclusion lists on data where inclusion lists weren't a thing. So if we have a bigger window, then we're going to have a lot of overlap, and then it can kind of distort the numbers a little bit. And then for the normal top fee, we're just doing, as the spec says, from -4 seconds to 8 from our point of view after block N. So this is for the top fee inclusion list. As you can see, They're about full. This is from the block native data, only covering about half the mempool, well, half of included transactions, and not the full mempool and being significantly filtered. But we can assume it's about full. And as you can see, about 92% of those transactions are essentially wasted bandwidth. And it goes up by about 2 percentage points and doesn't change much after the second spot delay. And then this is what I found a little bit more surprising with these censored transactions. So basically anything that was in the mempool when the last block was being built but never made it and met all the requirements. And we're also checking to make sure that there was a room in the last block. So using this strategy, you can see we get a little bit less redundancy. So the inclusion lists are actually helping with UX and censorship a lot more, but it is still a pretty significant amount of these transactions just aren't getting included. Those probably fall if you're looking at a further back window, but as mentioned before, it can be kind of hard to back test that. So with all that said, the redundancy seems pretty inevitable. And as some people were talking before about, oh, we should only um, just just use censored transactions in the inclusion list. Obviously, there's no way to police that, so we can just assume all inclusion lists are going to be full anyway. But the best approach is likely some sort of hybrid approach because doesn't require too much compute to find those censored transactions, but that is still up to the client. And then I would strongly suggest trying to keep us at that 0 slot delay, but worst case, 1 slot delay, depending on EPBS and the implementation, shouldn't be too horrible. And then just as a quick leaving note, it'd be interesting to see what happens to these numbers in a high censorship environment. So if it's a lot easier to see those censored transactions, can we see those redundancy numbers collapse? Maybe testing a future testnet and such, but there's a lot of, I don't know how important it's going to be with deciding how we end up building inclusion lists, but it'd definitely be interesting. If anyone has more like block building experience, can come up with a more sophisticated way to do this. But with that all said, let me know if you have any questions, and I can drop the full report in the group in the chat.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing. It's good to see that different IO building algorithms already have different outcomes, even based on the past data set. I'd encourage client teams to adopt different strategies. I guess it's more about coordination that we uh, probably need to handle down the road. I have a question. So, when we use half fee algorithm, it seems 6 to 8% of transactions are not timely included. Do you know which delay after those transactions are included?
So the transactions that aren't here, I can pull it up again. You're talking about these transactions.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, there's no specific reason for it all the time, but I couldn't find any reason for why they're definitely not getting included. It's definitely another good thing to look into. I still have most of the data, so I could possibly take a look. But my best guess would just be it not making into the mempool for whoever the builder is. It seems like most stuff does get included eventually, but some stuff we can see from the block native data that sits for a while or eventually gets replaced if it sits too long. But we are checking for fees and everything, so definitely no clean answer to that.
Right. So are there are there transactions that are not included forever, and I mean, I'm talking about those transactions that are not included uh, in this chart, like those who are part of this 6 to 8%. So is it correct to understand that um, those transactions are either included in after some delay or
Mhm.
not delayed forever for whatever reason?
Yeah, the vast majority. Block Native did some. They had a nice chart of this, but it's a very. And they also have a stale tag on the data, but none of the transactions I could find were like explicitly censored. They either made it in or they were in the mempool too long and eventually became invalid.
Right, right.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah,
And yeah, yeah.
it
Do
gets
you also
pretty.
have? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wanted to ask you about like, do you have like rough data indicate that like on average like they get included after like for example like 6 slots for example. Um, did I? Yeah. So my my question is like if they are included after certain delay, um, did they get included like I don't know like maybe like 6 or like 10 slots or like, do you also have any insight on that delay? Maybe you're on mute.
Yeah, my bad. Um, yeah, I did some like smaller queries when I was looking into it. I didn't see anything alarming. Most transactions, like 98% or so, maybe even higher, were included in the next five or so blocks or became invalid. Um,
Mm.
so that's my best answer for that. But
Okay,
I didn't
thank you.
see anything in those investigations that led me to look further into it.
Right. Um, maybe it is also worth to see like if there is any common characteristic of those transactions. Like maybe those transactions are the ones who touch Tornado Cash, for example. Yeah, it's just an idea.
Okay, yeah. And just another note on this, it would be a lot better for like data collecting and such to probably do a sidecar method, but you probably want nodes across the world just because it's tricky to figure out if something is actually valid without the state. You can do some stuff, and if a transaction makes it into the mempool, it's supposed to be valid in most cases, but it's definitely a lot of the stuff is not clean cut to figure out
Mm.
if it's actually being censored based on the historical data.
Got it. Makes sense. Cool.
Do you need access to an archive node?
Yeah,
Or do you
that
already
could be
have that?
useful.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. If anyone has any ideas of other stuff to look into or resources, yeah, feel free to reach out to me.
Um, do we get a different data set if we have an access to some archive node?
I haven't looked into uh, I looked into it a little bit with my own node, not or running a node and just following the chain, no archive node. I haven't done any work with archive nodes there. It would be pretty simple to just follow the chain and but if anyone has any experience working with archive nodes, I'm not quite sure.
Mm. Okay, I can take a look into it. I mean, I can ask around like if I can provide you any access to some archive node. I mean, if you
Yeah,
are up for it.
yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, okay. Um, about I mean, when it comes to same slot inclusion list hosted PBS, it's still an idea, but there's an idea to make balls be propagated separately to payload and set balls deadline much earlier than payload deadline, such as 6 seconds into the slot. And with this, we can allow inclusion list committee members to update their state earlier and so that they can build fresh ILs even when they receive payload late and don't have enough time to execute it to have the latest state. So I think we would be possible to have same slot ILs even after ePBS.
Sounds good.
All right. Yeah. So another good thing is I think IL building is not specified and it's not part of consensus. So once we have FOCIL on mainnet, maybe we can also analyze real world data to fine tune IL building mechanism. For instance, so in this simulation, currently censorship window is set to test 12 seconds. And this is because it's um, ILs are hypothetical, but it'd be really nice if we can have if we can have this effort be continued after we ship FOSSIL, then it will be useful for people who are interested in elaborating their IL building algorithms, whether it be researchers or client teams. So yeah, it's great work.
Yeah, or if there's any MEV potential for your, I can't think
Mm,
of anything off the top of my head, but wouldn't be surprised.
yeah, yeah, makes sense. All right, cool. Thanks. Do we have any more updates? Yes, Katya?
Hello, everyone. Not an update, but I have a question. Do we currently have a single source of truth, like the kurtosis config and the client's images whenever they are ready? Just to quickly spin up.
We still have some kurtosis config for on top of flu, but I'm not sure if it's still working. And now the client teams are working on FOSSIL on top of Amsterdam. We don't have kurtosis config for post Amsterdam.
Okay, got it. Maybe later in the channel.
Yep, for sure. Any questions or updates? All right, I think we can go ahead and wrap up this call. Thanks for joining, and hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And let's catch up in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.